Welcome. We are now in the second tutorial of module 4, that is design of separation processes, and today we shall see 4 problems related to the distillation operation. First problem statement appears on your screen now. Consider separation of a binary mixture of components A and B, A being more volatile for following conditions: feed 150 mole per hour, the composition of feed is mole fraction of A is 0.6, the more volatile component is 60%, percentage recovery of A desired is 99.5% with purity of 99.5%, the relative volatility is 1.5, reflux ratio can be assumed to be 1.2 times the minimum reflux ratio, which is the optimum condition for reflux ratio, and the feed stream can be assumed to be at saturation condition. The minimum reflux ratio can be determined by Underwood's equation, and for this situation we have to calculate the number of plates in both sections of the column, rectification section as well as stripping section, using the complete form of Smoker equation, and then we have to compare the answers of the rectification section plates and stripping section plates. So, we start our solution. The data given is feed, total feed is 150 mole per hour, mole fraction of more volatile component is 60%, XD, the mole fraction of A, the more volatile component in distillate is 99.5 because purity is 99.5. So, XD is 0.995, percentage recovery of A is 99.5%, alpha equal to 1.5. So, to start with, we do the complete material balance across distillation column. The distillate flow rate of light key component, that is A, is 150 mole per hour into 0.6, that is the total feed of A, and we have to recover 99.5% of that in the distillate. So, the distillate flow rate of light key component is 150 mole per hour into 0.6, that is XFA, into 0.995, that is percentage recovery, and we get 89.55 mole per hour as the answer. Then 99.5% is the purity of A in distillate. So, 0.005% is obviously B. So, the distillate flow rate of B, the heavy key component, can be determined straightforwardly as 0.005 divided by 0.995 into 89.55, that is 0.45 mole per hour. The bottom flow rate of A, that is light key component, is total feed A, that is 0.6 into 150 mole per hour minus 89.55, that is 0.45 mole per hour. The bottom flow rate of heavy key component is the feed of B, 0.4 into 150. This is the total feed of B minus the B appearing in distillate, and the remaining fraction goes to bottom, 59.55 mole per hour. The mole fraction of A in bottom can then be calculated as XW is equal to 0.45, the amount of A in bottom, divided by the total bottom flow rate 59.55 plus 0.45, and then XW, that is the mole fraction of more volatile component in bottom, comes out to be 7.557 into 10 to power minus 3. So, this way we have done the basic material balance across the column. Now, we start our calculations for number of plates. First of all, we have to calculate the reflux ratio, and we have been given that the reflux ratio is 1.2 times the minimum reflux ratio. We use the Underwood's equation for minimum reflux ratio. Rm is equal to 1 divided by alpha minus 1 into the bracket XD by XF minus alpha into 1 minus XD divided by 1 minus XF, and now we substitute all values that we have: alpha equal to 1.5, XD equal to 0.995, XF equal to 0.6, alpha. Then so these are the values that we are putting in, and then reflux ratio can be calculated. Minimum reflux ratio is calculated as 3.279. The actual reflux ratio R is 1.2 times the minimum reflux ratio. So, 1.2 into 3.279, that is 3.2 0.935, that is actual reflux ratio. Now, having done this, we have to solve the quadratic equation for the rectification section. This was derived in the previous class. The equation is m into alpha minus 1 into k square plus m plus b into alpha minus 1 minus alpha into k plus b equal to 0. M is the slope of the operating line. Now, we are dealing with rectification section. So, the slope is r divided by r plus 1, and now putting value of r as 3.935, we calculate the value of slope as 0.797. The b is essentially the y-intercept of the rectification line rectification operating line, that is xd by r plus 1. We have again values of all of these xd and r. So, 0.99 xd equal to 0.995, r equal to 3.935. After substituting these two values, we calculate value of b as 0.202. We have been already given value of alpha as 1.5. So, putting all these values here, we can calculate, we can solve this quadratic equation and calculate values of k. That I leave you as exercise. You can use the standard formula for a x square plus bx plus c type of equation, and the root is minus b in plus minus b square minus under root b square minus 4ac divided by 2a. So, putting all these values, you can calculate, you can get two values of k as 0.502 and 1.008. Now, k is a mole fraction. So, we have to discard the value greater than 1 as absurd, and we go for the other value of k, 0.502. Then the general form of Smoker equation was derived in previous class as follows: n is equal to log into x0 dash divided by xn dash into bracket 1 minus xn dash into m into c into alpha minus 1 divided by alpha minus mc square, and again that bracket divided by 1 minus x0 dash into m into c into alpha minus 1 divided by alpha minus mc square, and the whole thing divided by log alpha divided by mc square. Now, this dash are essentially the shifted coordinates. Now, when we apply the general form of Smoker equation for rectification section, then x0 dash becomes xd dash, xn dash becomes xf dash, and x0 dash is essentially x0 minus k, but x0 is xd. So, we put value of 0.995 minus k, value of k that we just derived 0.502, and that x0 dash becomes 0.493. Similarly, we can get xn dash is xn minus k, but xn is equal to xf. So, we put the value of xf as 0.6 minus 0.502, the value of k, and then xn dash is 0.098. The value of c can be found as follows: c is 1 plus alpha minus 1 into k. We have alpha equal to 1.5, k equal to 0.502. So, putting these two values, you can get value of c as 1.251. And now, we have all the values. We substitute those in the general form of equation n log xn dash divided by xf dash x0 dash. So, 0.493 x0 dash divided by xn dash. So, x0 dash is 0.493 divided by 0.093, and all other values that you see on the screen, and this you can solve on a simple calculator, and the value that you get is 28 plates. So, you have the first answer, the number of plates in rectification section are 28. Then we move on to solving the Smoker equation for stripping section. Here, the slope of operating line m is r into xf plus xd minus r plus 1 into xb divided by r plus 1 into xf minus xb. Now, this value you have already learnt, how the derivation of this particular equation you have already covered in the course of mass transfer. I request you to revise the equations of operating line, that will help you in understanding this. Okay. This equation is also given, this derivation of these equations is also given in the standard books like mass transfer operation by Trebal and unit operations by McCabe and Smith. So, what I have done is that I have directly taken these values from these books. You can always go back to the book and see the derivation. So, the slope of operating line of stripping section is that m is equal to Rxf into plus xd, etc. The intercept is xf minus xd into xb divided by r plus 1 into xf minus xb. Now, there is some confusion about notation. Some books have used xw as the notation for mole fraction of more volatile component or light key component bottoms, and some books have used xb as notation for the same. These essentially are the same. Xb is equal to xw. So, we have all the values. We have r equal to 3.935, xf equal to 0.6, xd 0.995, r equal to again 3.935, xb equal to 7.5 into 10 to power minus 3. So, after putting all these values, we get the slope of operating line of stripping section as 1.135 and the y intercept as minus 1.013 into 10 to power minus 3. And again we have to go exactly the same way. We have to solve the quadratic for k, the equation that we solved for rectification section, exactly same equation has to be solved. So, that I am leaving you as a homework. You have all the values. Again, you use the standard formula for quadratic equation ax square plus bx plus c and then determine these values of k. Now, one value of k is essentially mole fraction. So, it has to be greater than 0 and less than 1. We have one value that falls between 0 and 1, 0.647, and the other value is less than 1, minus 2.761 into 10 to power minus 3. So, this value is discarded as absurd. We take the other value and proceeding exactly the same way. But now remember, here x0 dash, this is the lower section of the column. So, x0 dash is xf minus k, because we are solving between the feed point and the bottom point. So, x0 dash is xf minus k, xn dash is xb minus k. So, xn is essentially xb and x0 is xf. This is the only difference, rest of the procedure is exactly the same. X0 dash is xf minus k. So, we put xf equal to 0.6 minus 0.647. So, that gives minus 0.047. xn dash is xb minus k. So, 7.5 into 10 to power minus 3, that is minus 0.64 value of k. So, that is minus 0.639. Value of c is 1 plus alpha minus 1 into k. Again we put all values and get value of c as 1.323. Then we substitute all these values in the general form of Smoker equation, log x0 dash divided by xn dash, and then the brackets divided by log alpha divided by mc square, and then the entire calculation is on your screen. You can solve it on any simple calculator to get the number of plates as 23.769. So, that is adjusted to the next integer as 24 plates. So, we have the final answer. The rectification section has 28 plates and the stripping section has 24 plates. Now, typically for a closed boiling mixture where alpha is anywhere between 1.2 to 1.5, 1.6, this is the answer that you are likely to get, that the number of plates in rectification and stripping section are more or less the same. Here we have only difference of 4 plates, but among, if you see the percentage difference, like 4 divided by 24 is only about 15%. So, you have you can have a generalized relation as NR more or less equal to, not equal to, but more or less equal to NS. Number of plates in rectification section are number of more or less equal to number of plates in stripping section. So, that completes the first problem of today's session. We now see the second problem. This problem is about determination of the total vapor flow rate in different sequences of distillation, and we use the Porter and Momo formula for it. I read out the problem statement for you. A 5 component mixture is to be separated using sequences of distillation column. The data is as given, is appearing on your screen. We have 5 component A, B, C, D, E, A being the lightest component and E being the heaviest component. The flow rates are also given. Flow rate of A is 269 kilomole per hour, B is 282 kilomole per hour, C is 57 kilomole per hour, D is 215 kilomole per hour. and E is 42 kilomole per hour. Relative volatility is defined with respect to the heaviest component E. D has a relative volatility of 1.76, C has 1.86, B has 3.28 and A has a relative volatility of 6.24 with respect to E. Feed to the column, all columns in the sequence is saturated liquid feeds. In each column, the actual reflux ratio can be taken as 1.2 times the minimum reflux ratio, which is optimum condition. Again, like last problem, we can use Underwood's equation to get the minimum reflux ratio, and then we have to compare 5 different sequences for the separation of this mixture in terms of the total vapor flow rate. These sequences now appear on your screen. ABCDE going first to separate A from BCDE, and the quaternary mixture of BCDE is split in direct and indirect sequence, okay, in both ways. First B being separated from CDE, then C being separated from DE, D and then split of DE. So, this is direct sequence. Then the other way around, first is up to separation of B direct sequence and CD is separated in indirect sequence. Then we have equimolar split between BCDE and BC and DE, and then the binary mixtures of BC and DE are split separately. And once again here we have first an indirect sequence of separation of E from BCD mixture, ternary mixture, and the ternary mixture is split again in direct and indirect sequence. So, we have to compare all these options, sequence options, in terms of the total vapor flow rate, and we have to use the methodology of Porter and Momo. In the previous lectures, I have told you the advantage of method of Porter and Momo because it is explicit. If you do the same with Underwood's equation, FUG method, Fenske-Underwood-Gilliland method, you have to first solve the equation for value of theta, which is a variable. Now, that time you will get a polynomial which you have to solve iteratively, and then you have to pick up that value of theta that lies between the relative volatility of heavy key and light key component and substitute in the next equation for R minimum to get R minimum, but that is rather rigorous calculation because it is implicit. You have to do iterative calculation. So, Porter and Momo have provided us a method which is explicit. Now, we start the solution. The formula for Porter and Momo method is V, the vapor flow rate is equal to Fa plus Fb plus Flk. Now, these are the flow rates of different components. Flk is the flow rate of light key component into Rf divided by alpha minus 1 into the total flow rate Fa plus Fb up to Flk and Fhk heavy key up to Fnc, the total number of components. Alpha is the relative volatility between the key components, and we have been already told that the ratio of actual reflux to minimum reflux is 1.2. So, value of Rf is 1.2. We have been given relative volatilities with respect to E, the heaviest component, but when we are splitting between the different components, like we are splitting here between A and B. So, we have to calculate alpha AB, the relative volatility between adjacent components, that we can do by taking ratio of the components, adjacent components with respect to E. Like we have to take a ratio of relative volatility of adjacent components with respect to E. So, alpha AB is calculated as alpha AE divided by alpha BE. Alpha AE is 6.24, alpha B is 3.28. So, alpha AB becomes 1.9. Similarly, alpha BC is alpha BE divided by alpha CE, that becomes 3.28 divided by 1.86, so 1.76. Alpha CD is alpha CE divided by alpha DE, that is 1.86 divided by 1.76, that is 1.06, and alpha DE is 1.76, that is straightforward. So, for the first column in the first sequence, we have distillate as AFA, and then we have the other components. So, the first column of first sequence that splits A from BCD mixture, you can substitute all values Fa 269, Fb, Fc, Fd, Fe into 1.2, that is Rf divided by alpha AB minus 1. So, 1.9 minus 1. Then the second column of first sequence separates B from CDE mixture but here you are splitting between B and C. So, Rf divided by alpha minus 1, you have to use value of alpha Bc. Remember this thing very thoroughly, that whenever you are splitting between adjacent components, you have to take the relative volatility between those components and not the volatility which has been given to you. The volatility which has been given to you is with respect to the heaviest component. So, Fp plus 1.2 divided by alpha Bc minus 1 into the other component Fp, Fc, Fd, Fe, and similarly you go ahead doing all these things. Third column, that splits C from De mixture, and the final that splits De. And after substituting values, you can calculate these numbers on a simple calculator, and you have to add the values of vapor flow rates of all the 4 columns that are there. First column separating A from BCD mixture, second column separating B from CD mixture, third column separating C from CD mixture, and final column splitting the binary mixture of DE. And this you can do on a simple calculator and get the answer as 9947 kilomole per hour. I have given the direct answer. I suggest you to recalculate and check for correction. So, that about the first sequence. In the second sequence, we have direct separation, direct sequence up to the CDE mixture, and the CDE mixture is split in indirect sequence. Now, therefore, the first column, second column are essentially same as the previous sequence, exactly the same, A being separated, B being separated. However, here you have separation of CD mixture in indirect sequence. So, here we have Fc plus Fd in the third column, and 1.2 into 1.76 minus 1, and then finally here you have to use the value of alpha De, and here is the alpha Cd, and then exactly the same procedure, putting all values, you get final answer as 9207 kilomole per hour. Now, the third sequence, here we have ABCD mixture being split as A BCDE, and the quaternary mixture of BCD is split into 2 binary mixtures BCDE, which are electron separated. First column is exactly the same as previous 2 sequences. For the other 2 columns, other 3 columns, we have to do calculation. In the second column, you have BCDE together appearing in the distillate, and then here you have to use, you are splitting between C and D. So, you have to use value of CD, alpha CD in the second expression, and then these are the 2 binary columns, binary mixture column. First column separating BC mixture, second column separating DE mixture, and then you have to use here again value of alpha BC and alpha DE, and then you get final answer as 15780. Well, sequence 4 and 5 I am leaving as an exercise for you, because the calculations are rather straightforward. The only care you have to take is that whenever you are doing calculation for any column, use the value of alpha between the where you are splitting. So, if a column is splitting alpha, let us say quaternary mixture BCDE, then for that alpha you are splitting between essentially C and D. So, you have to use alpha CD. If it is CDE, means E being separated from CD mixture, then you have to use alpha DE, and so on and so forth. So, for the 4th and 5th sequence, I am directly giving you the answer. 4th sequence has total vapor flow rate of 9869 kilomole per hour, and sequence 5 has total vapor flow rate of 15770 kilomole per hour. Now, if you compare the total vapor flow rates of all 5 sequences, the first one we calculated as 9947, the second one we calculated as 9207, the third one we calculated as 15780, and 4th and 5th we have calculated as 9869 and 15770 kilomole per hour. The least total vapor flow rate among all of these is that of sequence 2, 9207 kilomole per hour. So, we have the answer to the question that the sequence with the least total vapor flow rate is this ABCD mixture being separated as A BCDE, A being separated from quaternary mixture, and then B being separated from ternary mixture and the ternary mixture of CD being split in indirect sequence. So, that completes the second problem of today's session. Now, we shall see the third problem. The third problem is a theoretical problem. I will read out the statement. First section of problem 3 is that prove that the temperature difference between any 2 points in the distillation column is expressed as 1 by T1 minus 1 by T2, 1 and 2 indicate the subscript indicate 2 points in a column, is equal to R divided by delta H into ln sigma 2 by sigma 1. Delta H is the heat of vaporization or latent heat, and sigma k is a variable defined as summation alpha I into xi k. K denotes the stream at 2 points, okay. I denotes the component, alpha relative volatility with respect to heavy key component, and x is a mole fraction. So, k is a section of the column, alpha I is the relative volatility of component I, and xi is the mole fraction of that component. So, this is the first question that we have to answer. We have to derive the expression for temperature difference between any 2 points in distillation column. The second bit is about applying the same relation to the extreme sections of the column like bottoms and the condenser or reboiler and condenser, and then we have to determine the temperature drop across a distillation column, that is the difference between boiling temperatures of the bottom and condensation temperature of the distillate, and that we have to prove as delta T equal to R into Tf square divided by delta H into ln sigma D by sigma B. Sigma is again a variable defined previously in terms of relative volatility and mole fraction xi. Tf is the temperature of the feed, D is the distillate, D denotes distillate, B denotes bottom. So, that 1 and 2 are become D and B, and the subscript 1 and 2 in the previous bit become D and B now. We can make an assumption that the conditions of the distillation are such that Clausius-Clapeyron equation holds good. That means, we are not having very high pressure distillation, we are having low to moderate pressure, let us say atmospheric distillation, and the mixture is relatively ideal. So, that the Clausius-Clapeyron equation holds good. Now, we start the solution. First of all, we assume that equilibrium is achieved between vapor and liquid phases at both points 1 and 2, okay, which gives the following relation for a component I in the feed mixture. This is the equilibrium relation: Pi naught into xi is equal to Pt into yi. Pi naught is the vapor pressure, xi is the mole fraction of that component in liquid phase, yi is the mole fraction of that component in gas phase, and then we can rearrange that equation as yi is equal to Pi naught by Pt into xi, and Pi naught by Pt, this ratio, vapor pressure ratio to total pressure ratio, is denoted as capital Ki, where Ki is the equilibrium constant for that particular component. Now, before we proceed, we have to derive a small relation. We are talking of mixture that are close boiling. So, these are very typical of hydrocarbon mixtures. For hydrocarbon mixtures which do not exhibit hydrogen bonding, the equilibrium relation is written as yi is equal to Ki into xi, which we just did, Ki being the ratio of vapor pressure to total pressure. Summation yi is equal to 1, because yi is essentially the mole fraction of ith component. So, if you add a mole fraction of all components, if you do summation over all I, then it is obviously 1. This is equal to summation Ki xi. We do apply summation sign both side. Then we can also write yi is equal to Ki xi divided by summation Ki xi, because summation Ki xi is essentially 1. So, Ki xi divided by 1 is Ki xi. Next, we divide both numerator and denominator of K value, denominator of that expression by K value of heavy key component. Now, as I said that relative volatility is always defined in terms of heavy key component, as in the previous problem the heaviest component was E. So, we defined relative volatilities of all other components with respect to E. So, we do exactly the same thing here. So, alpha I is K I divided by K H K, the equilibrium constant of ith component divided by equilibrium constant of heavy key component, that we denote as alpha I. Then y I is equal to K I divided by K H K. K H K is a constant, so you can take it inside the summation sign also without any problem. K I divided by K H K into alpha x I divided by summation K I by K H K into x I, and then we replace K I by K H K as alpha I. So, we get y I is equal to alpha I x I divided by summation alpha I x I, and y I divided by x I is K I. So, K I is equal to alpha I divided by summation alpha I x I. So, we use this relation for further derivation. For a section K in the distillation column, for a component J, you can write P naught J K divided by P T, which means the vapor pressure of jth component in K section divided by the total pressure is equal to Y J K divided by X J K, where Y J is the vapor mole fraction of that component and X J is the liquid mole fraction of that component in that section, is equal to K J K. And using the relation that we just derived, K J K can be written as alpha j divided by summation alpha j into X J K, where K is that particular section, and the denominator summation alpha j into X J K we write as sigma k. So, writing the same relation for two locations within the column 1 and 2. So, K has now two values 1 and 2. P naught J 1 divided by P T is equal to K J 1, that is equal to alpha j divided by sigma 1, and P naught J 2 divided by P T is equal to K J 2, that is equal to alpha j divided by sigma 2. Now, we take a ratio of these two relations and P T gets cancelled in. So, P naught J 1 divided by P naught J 2 is equal to sigma 2 divided by sigma 1. The vapor pressure is now expressed in terms of Clapeyron equation. P naught J 1 divided by P naught, that is one standard state, is equal to exponential minus delta H R into 1 by T 1 minus 1 by T 0, where T 0 is the standard state, temperature of the standard state, usually it is STP condition. Okay. So, we do the same thing for two locations, then T naught gets 1 by T naught gets cancelled, because we add up the values of temperature, and then we get P naught J 1 divided by P naught J 2 is equal to exponential minus delta H by R into 1 by T 1 divided by 1 by. Then we take we convert exponential to ln. So, we take ln of left hand side, ln sigma 2 by sigma 1 is minus delta H by R into 1 by T 1 minus 1 by T 2, and then you can rearrange this equation in terms of the temperature difference. 1 by T 2 minus 1 by T 1 is equal to R by delta H into ln sigma 2 by sigma 1. So, we have derived the expression for temperature difference at any 2 points in a distillation column. Okay. Remember, this particular equation has several assumptions in it. In the first place, it is for close boiling mixture, it is for the mixture which does not exhibit non-ideal conditions like hydrogen bonding, etc. So, keep in mind the assumptions that we have made in derivation of this equation. This equation is very helpful because it can give us the idea as how the heat is being degraded in a distillation column. Whenever you have a close boiling mixture in distillation column, the delta H is essentially the same, means delta H, the latent heat for all components is more or less the same. So, in that way the total heat that you supply at the reboiler, more or less same heat is recovered in the condenser when the vapors condense, but what changes is the temperature. Okay. You are supplying heat at the reboiler at a much higher higher temperature, and you are receiving more or less same amount of heat at a lower temperature. So, that is heat degradation across a distillation column, and this formula is very handy formula to account for such degradation. Next, we apply this relation between the three locations in the column, that is condenser, feed and bottom, because we have to now estimate the total heat degradation across a distillation column. So, we denote Tf as the temperature of the feed, Td as the temperature of the distillate and Tb as the temperature of the reboiler. Then we apply the above relation two times, first between feed and distillate and second between feed and bottoms. So, when we apply the relation between feed and distillate, we get 1 by Tf minus 1 by Td is equal to R by delta H into ln sigma F by sigma D. Now, if you reorganize this equation in terms of Td, because we are interested in temperature of the distillate, then you get minus R by delta H into ln sigma F by sigma D plus 1 by Tf raised to minus 1. So, this is the first expression that we have, the expression for temperature of the distillate. Now, we apply the same general equation between bottoms and feed. So, 1 divided by Tb minus 1 divided by Tf. So, 1 and 2 becomes now B and F is equal to R by delta H into ln sigma B by sigma F, okay. And then we again make it explicit in terms of Tb. Tb is equal to R by delta H into ln sigma B by sigma F plus 1 by Tf raised to minus 1. So, we have the second expression for Tb. So, we have the expression for temperature of the distillate, temperature of the bottom, and the temperature drop across the column is Tb minus Td. As I just said, you supply heat at a higher temperature in reboiler and recover more or less same amount of heat at a lower temperature in the distillate, in the condenser, that is the distillate. So, the temperature drop is Tb minus Td. We substitute now the values of Tb and Td that we derived just now, 1 divided by Tf plus R by delta H into ln sigma B by sigma F minus the expression for 1 divided by expression for Td, 1 divided by Tf minus R by delta H into ln sigma F by sigma D, and then we do the cross summation. We multiply the numerator of the expression 1 by denominator of expression 2 and then vice versa, the numerator of expression 2 by denominator of expression 1, and then we multiply this thing, a simple negation of fractions, and then 1 by Tf minus R by delta H into ln sigma F by sigma D minus 1 by Tf minus R by delta H into ln sigma B by sigma F. So, this cancels off, 1 by Tf goes off. When you multiply denominators, then you have 1 by Tf square minus R by delta H square into ln sigma B by sigma F into ln sigma F by sigma D. If you look at the two terms in the denominator, 1 by Tf square and R by delta H square into ln sigma B by sigma F into ln sigma F by sigma D. If you see the numerical values of these, delta H is typically, let us say 1500 kilojoule per kilomole, 2000 kilojoule per kilomole, R is 8.3, that R is a universal gas constant. So, it is 8.3 joule per mole per Kelvin. Okay. So, R by delta H ratio is of the order of, it is 8 divided by approximately 2000. Okay. So, it is 0.004 and then that squared. Okay. So, you are going to have a very small number as the second expression of the denominator. So, R by delta H square into ln sigma B by sigma F into ln sigma F by sigma D is going to be very small as compared to 1 by Tf square. What will be the temperature of the feed? It will be typically, let us say 350 Kelvin, 320 Kelvin, 70-80 degrees approximately, okay, of that order. So, 1 by Tf square minus R by delta H square is going to be dominated by the first term, okay, because the second term is far smaller than the first term, and therefore, you can ignore this term. Second term can be ignored. Then what we are left with, delta T is equal to Tb minus Td is equal to R divided by delta H divided by 1 by Tf square, and then the summation ln sigma F by sigma D into ln sigma B by sigma F, that you can multiply, okay, and then you can have the final expression as delta T is equal to R into T f square divided by delta H into ln sigma D by sigma B. The negative sign is absorbed by changing the ratio. Okay, the ratio inside the bracket is sigma B by sigma D, that we reverse and then take care of the negative sign, and thus we have a very handy expression for the temperature drop across a distillation column. Okay, what we need to know to get delta T is just the temperature of the feed, the latent heat of the component, the average latent heat of all components, the distillate composition and the bottom composition and relative volatilities. With this simple data, you can have a very crucial parameter, that is the temperature drop across a distillation column. Such expression is very handy for heat integration of the process, where you want to integrate your distillation column with other process streams, or you want to integrate two columns in this a sequence. As I said in previous lecture, that you can do that by varying pressures of the two columns, so that the vapors of first column condense in the reboiler of the second column. So, these kind of expressions are very handy for making such energy integration matches. Now, we move ahead to the next problem, the last problem of today's session, problem 4. This problem is also a theoretical problem. Derive the condition for which variation in the relative volatility alpha has insignificant effect on the number of plates in a distillation column. Whenever we do calculations like McCabe-Smith or FUG method, we assume alpha to be constant, the relative volatility between components to be constant. This is a major assumption. But in many cases, the relative volatility changes with temperature, and we have to now find out conditions under which such a variation does not make much effect on the number of plates that we estimate using McCabe-Thiele method or FUG method. So, we start our solution. Condition for which variation in relative volatility has insignificant. Now, the word insignificant we quantify as less than 10% effect on the number of plates of a distillation column. Okay. To derive this condition, we start with Gilliland correlation for the number of trays required to achieve a particular separation. Gilliland plot says that typically the number of actual theoretical plates for separation of the mixture at conditions, optimum conditions of R equal to 1.2 times R minimum, okay, that N actual are typically 2 times the minimum number of trays. Minimum number of trays result when you have a total reflux ratio, and those number of trays you can calculate using Fenski's equation. Okay. That is appearing on your screen now. Fenski's equation says that N plus 1, now that plus 1 stands for reboiler. We do not, because we are considering columns of 50-60 plates, so that one we ignore, one that reboiler itself is a plate, so that we ignore. So, N is equal to ln x d divided by 1 minus x t into 1 minus x t x w divided by x w. Now, this product x d divided by 1 minus x t into 1 minus x w divided by x w is known as separation factor. This is popularly known as separation factor, SF. Divided by ln alpha, where alpha is the relative volatility. Now, we define the variation in alpha as alpha average into 1 plus phi, where phi is the variation, and according to Gilliland, N is approximately 2 times ln x d divided by 1 minus x d into 1 minus x d divided by x w divided by ln alpha. Alpha average we define as alpha t divided plus alpha b divided by 2. Alpha t is the relative volatility at the column top among the topmost plates near condenser. Alpha b is the relative volatility at temperature at the bottom of the column near the reboiler, and we substitute for alpha the expression that we just defined, alpha is equal to alpha a v into 1 plus phi. So, N becomes total number of theoretical plates becomes equal to 2 into ln SF, separation factor divided by ln alpha a v into 1 plus phi. Okay, that we expand as 2 ln SF divided by alpha divided by ln alpha a v plus ln 1 plus phi, and then we divide the numerator and denominator by ln alpha IV. So, we have n is equal to 2 times Nm, the minimum reflux minimum plates. Minimum plates are ln Sm divided by ln alpha IV divided by 1 plus ln 1 plus phi divided by 1 plus alpha IV. If the variation in relative volatility is not drastic, but small to moderate, we can make two approximations for the second expression in the denominator. In the first place, we can write ln 1 plus phi is approximately equal to phi as per Taylor series expansion, and then the total denominator, the total fraction, like 1 divided by 1 plus phi divided by ln alpha IV. That is, we now separate like we write like 2 times Nm into 1 divided by 1 plus ln 1 plus phi divided by ln alpha IV. Now, we have already approximated ln 1 plus phi as phi, and then what we get is this. So, the denominator of this expression can be expanded in terms of Taylor series again as 1 minus phi divided by ln alpha IV. So, with these two approximations, we get the total number of actual theoretical plates is equal to 2 times the minimum number of plates into 1 minus phi divided by ln alpha IV. Now, if the variation in phi has to introduce less than 10% error in the column design, that means the number of plates, then the second expression has to be much smaller than 1. Okay? That means we can ignore this. If this second expression is far less than 1, then we can ignore this, and then n becomes equal to 2 times Nm, which is the Gilliland expression, and that will happen only when phi divided by ln alpha IV is the numerical value of this particular expression, phi divided by ln alpha IV is less than or equal to 0.1. So, that we get n is equal to 2 times Nm as per Gilliland correlation. So, this is the condition for which the variation in alpha makes least change to the total number of plates. Total number of plates as estimated with other methods like FUG methods. So, that completes the solution to the fourth problem. So, today we have seen 4 problems, 2 numerical and 2 theoretical problems related to the distillation operation. I have told you that distillation operation is one of the most common operation used in chemical industry. Therefore, learning distillation operation thoroughly is very essential for chemical engineers. This completes the second tutorial of module 4. Thank you.